We'll call the East Lyme Board of Selectmen meeting to order on February 4th, 2015. If you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any additional agenda or consent items? I believe not. Any delegations this evening? I guess not. So the approval of the minutes, a special meeting of January 21st, 2015.
Move approval of the minutes of the meeting of January 21st, 2015.
Second.
Any comments, corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The consent calendar.
Move to approve the consent calendar for the meeting of February 4th, 2015 in the amount of $5,358.28.
Second.
We have motion, it's been seconded. Any comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Let me catch up to 2A on our new business. Special appropriation of $71,561.42 for LoSiP projects. As I understand this, and I do, each fiscal year, well, I
That was awesome. I like that. You do understand it, which is awesome. That's good. All
Well, I didn't at about
Well, you
2
know.
o'clock this afternoon.
right, okay.
And I said, what does this mean? So I got the
All right,
vote on, but
I'm
I
with you.
probably would have Mrs. Johnson come up and just explain why we're doing this tonight. That might be the best way of doing it.
So you're passing the buck.
Oh, I understand.
I
it,
thought
but-
you understood
but
it.
I
No,
think
no.
you. No, I think
No.
you should come up and
No, he's
explain
delegating.
this.
Delegating.
Anna.
No, yeah. Just explain why we have to do this in this year's in this form.
Good evening. So each fiscal year, we get our LoSiP entitlement, and we include the funding for it in our general fund budget, approximately $120,000. If you recall, at the end of last year, I came before the boards to ask permission to carry over the unspent portion from last year's entitlement into this budget. What this additional $71,000 represents is projects that we had in the past that are completed, and we closed them out, and it's freed up this additional LoSiP funding. So we wanted to add it to the budget so that we can continue with the program of doing projects that are consistent with the capital improvement plan that was last approved at the annual town meeting in May of last year.
Thank you. So these are unspent LoSiP funds, which we are allowed to carry forward.
That's correct.
Real easy. Thank you.
Second motion. I'll move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $71,561.42 to budget account 0130-317-500-100 LoSiP and revenue account 01-03-300-320 local capital improvement to complete projects consistent with the capital improvement plan adopted at the May 12, 2014 annual town meeting and forward to the Board of Finance for approval.
Second.
This will require a town meeting.
Second.
We have one motion, a couple seconds. Any other comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Ayes have it. 2B is the emergency operation, also known as EOC. Someplace I've gotten to know quite well over the last couple of weeks. If you know anything about the EOC, it's a first-class operation. And Mr. Morris runs it by the book, and then some. He exceeds those expectations. Mr. Morris, you have a presentation or a request tonight, and you're probably better off, again, explaining this better than I.
But you did do your homework.
But I know exactly what I'm talking about.
He even had a training on how to turn it on. No. I'm requesting money for a new generator. It's going to be about 90% refunded from the federal government. It's a FEMA grant, a hazardous mitigation grant that we started about 3 years ago with Gary Gaishel and his group. we finally got approval for it. So the numbers that we're requesting in the grant is $53,739.93, for which $40,305 will be reimbursed by the government. They've already sent Mr. Nickerson a commitment letter to that effect, and what will the in cost of this will be about $9,000 that the town will pay for a new 50,000 kW generator at 171 Boston Post Road. The current generator that we have is very old, can't get parts. Matter of fact, some days when we need it for power outages, you have to go down and beat on the transfer switch to get it to turn on. So it's quite an experience when that kicks. So it's met its expectation in time, and this is the result of it was through Region 4 Homeland Security. They gave us the pathway to go after this grant.
Thank you. Any questions first?
What's the expected lifespan of the new generator?
30 years probably.
Okay, and it's diesel,
No,
propane?
it'll be propane. And we'll use the existing generator that's in the building as the backup, because we're required to have 2 generators in a 911 center. And the one that we use as a backup will be relocated for other purposes if they can get parts for it.
Okay, and this, this cost will include the installation and all the required bits and
Installation,
pieces?
remodeling, pad, electrical, taking out the old equipment and setting up the propane and aligning the new generator to run with the existing generator.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you were going to have a canopy to cover this.
Correct.
Is this going to be,
There is a canopy there now.
okay, you're going to use the existing one?
That's correct.
I don't recall if that has drop-down sides.
No, it doesn't. It's just a roof. But the weather enclosure of these generators are pretty substantial, where they're designed and built for a quiet run as well as weather enclosure.
Well, I noted in your memo that you had stated that the inside one had lasted longer than anticipated because it was inside as opposed to being outside. So,
That's correct. But technology, design, metals, and powder coating has made it available for these to last the same amount of time out in the weather.
could you tell me if each of the elementary schools have a generator?
None of the schools do, other than the middle school as a 500 kW. That was the one that you graciously helped us get. And then the high school has a 750,000 kW generator that runs the school as well as the AC and all its power needed. That was done on a grant.
Thank you.
So the middle school has one because it's our,
Shelter.
it's our shelter.
Correct. We purchased that through, that again was a grant that we got through Homeland Security. Unfortunately, it was like half the price of what we needed. It bought the generator, but it wouldn't buy the wire. The wire cost more than the generator. That was the big deal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dick, so so we're on the hook for $9,000.
Correct.
All right. So this is a great deal, and the old one, does that need like some kind of lifespan foraging to get that back to being able to, if the other one somehow throws something, will it work?
It will work as long as we can keep parts in it and keep it maintained every year.
So is there money to get it up and make sure it's going to be maintained?
We do that every year underneath our maintenance contract, and which
Okay.
will soonly be done.
Okay, very good. Roseanne, just all our outside generators in the sewer department are, they have heaters, they have everything in them. I mean, they work pretty well, we run them in this kind of weather every other day to just make sure that they're going to be able to perform. But on a regular basis, they run a half hour a week on their own, on a cycle basis, and we don't really have any trouble with them. They are really pretty efficient.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Want to make a motion?
Yes. I'll move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $49,305 to install a generator at the Emergency Operations Center at 171 Boston Post Road to an account titled Generator EOC in CNRE Fund 32 and forward to the Board of Finance for approval. Source of the funds are as follows. $40,305 will come from a grant from the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, and up to $9,000 will come from the CNRE account 32-70-300-500-999 townwide projects to provide a portion of the required 25% local match, and this requires a town meeting.
Second.
It's been seconded. Any further questions or comments?
I'd like to thank Mr. Morris for resourcing and helping the town avail themselves of the grant.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Okay, I'll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Thank you.
And in case you leave early, you miss my stellar comments at the end, I'd like to thank you for that over-the-top work that you did over the last couple of storms. It was, yeah, there's a whole lot of departments to thank. Your team and your leadership is so noted and is so valued in this town. Watching people come together is just an amazing thing. I'd take you guys on a tour of that facility, but you wouldn't be able to see the people working together, and that's the magic in there. Thank you again.
Well, you
Dick.
just have to invite us up for hot cocoa the next time
Well,
we
the
have a
next time-
blizzard, yes.
At 3 a.m. You're welcome to come up at 3 a.m. It's quite a scene. Thanks again, Dick. The next is 2C. That is the special appropriation for the conversion of 2 police SUVs to canine vehicles. With the purchase of the 2 new police vehicles that we purchase every year as part of our acquisition program, the resident trooper has requested that we convert 2 of the Interceptor SUVs into canine vehicles. One of the current canine vehicles will be retired from the fleet and reborn into the general fleet, which means the town will use the vehicle, I assume, and assigned to engineering. There it is. And the second canine vehicle will be taken off the front line and become a spare canine to be shared in case one of them goes down or something. Sergeant Blanchett is here. If you have anything to add, or if we have any questions. Are there any questions on this?
I have a question.
Yes.
One of the vehicles is a 4-wheel drive. It's going to engineering. Is that what I read?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
It's a 2005 Ford Explorer.
Okay. The engineering department here.
Yes.
Okay. Would that be available for the land use? Right now, land use. Right now, we've had discussions, through zoning and stuff like that. Right now, they get, a certain amount of money, and the planning official and the zoning official use their own vehicles. But there's times where they need 4-wheel drive and stuff like that. Would this
Well, I
also?
think if it's a special case, I can't see why that wouldn't be the
Would that be-
situation. I'd look into that. I can't answer that for
Okay,
tonight.
just for future, it may be useful to remove the item of possibly reimbursing the officials' land use and maybe having their own vehicle for something like this. So maybe use in the future for reuse of vehicles.
Right. We'll do.
Okay.
And I just don't want to answer that firmly, Mr. Solera, because there might be a town insurance situation, or just there'll be so much equipment maybe from the town engineer in the back that it would be a hassle if land use was using it and the town engineer needed it. But certainly, it's a good point, and I'll bring it up. And if not, it's been discussed that the land use could use a vehicle to share. That's not available right now, but in the future, maybe.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I'll move. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, is Lindsay's one of these? That we're
Lindsay's
gonna get rid of the,
that's going to remain as a spare. Right now, we don't have a spare.
right,
And
that's
if-
what I'm getting
yeah,
at.
if
So
there's-
that's gonna become a spare.
Yes, we're not adding anything to the fleet right now.
Yeah.
We're actually gonna go down a car just so I can keep one as a spare because it's so problematic. Basically, when one of their cars goes down, and they're the oldest cars in the fleet, I not only lose that car, I lose the dog because I don't have a car to put them in. So I need to have a spare. So if one of their cars goes down, I can put them in. The issue is, the equipment that we have now won't fit in the new cars, and I just don't have the money.
No,
in
they're
the
too
budget.
small.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
stuff
these-
doesn't go in there.
Yeah, one of them's gonna be one of the new canine cars is gonna be the 2012, which is the first new SUV Interceptor we got, and the other one's gonna be a 2013 SUV Interceptor.
All right, Bill, thank you very much. The only other thing I want to say is that we're not painting them white. I'm spending money on making a car that's blue white when it's a spare car.
No,
That's
it's
on here.
a spare car.
Please
that's
tell
not,
me we're not going to do
no,
that.
That spare car is gonna stay just the way it is, and if somebody needs it, they'll use it, and then next year that car is gonna go
Mr.
anyway.
Holyfield has some thoughts
But
that
that-
everything has to be white.
That will be the last blue car. in the
Yeah,
fleet.
well, what I'm getting at is I will not spend that money on
It's a spare
doing
car.
that when it's just a spare car and
It's a
that's the
spare
way
car.
it is.
Right.
What is the $4,773? What's the refurbishing that's gonna be done?
For both these police SUVs, it's going to provide an closed stainless steel cage in the back with the dogs, either in winter or summer.
Okay.
They have alarms on the car.
Mhm.
If the car it overheats in the summertime, you don't want the dog to overheat, so it'll pop the windows, it'll make the windows go down. It sets off an alarm. It's different equipment that needs to go in. So basically, the entire back of that car, except for the cargo area all the way in the back, is going to be a kennel for the dog.
Okay.
So it's like a big crate.
It's a big
Yeah,
stainless
you
steel
still yeah.
enclosed crate, yes. So it's not really a prisoner transport anymore.
It's a dog.
It's a dog
Dog
transport. So,
Well, it's where we end up, I guess.
yeah.
And
I
we
mean,
currently
we're
have.
trying to do the right thing.
We're trying to do the right thing, and,
Yeah.
the life expectancy of the dogs is another 5 or 6 years, probably a little bit longer for Lindsay's dog because it's a lab. And I mean the useful life expectancy, not the life of the dog. And with a 2-year-old car and a 1-year-old car, this should get us through
Wonderful.
to.
So we currently have, two canine?
Yes, ma'am. We have a passive alert canine, which is a drug dog, specifically a drug dog. And then Mike Jazerski has a patrol dog, which is cross-trained in narcotics as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, it took us a long time in several budget sessions to be able to get the K-9 and the K-9 officers.
Yes,
And I think it's certainly proven its value
Absolutely.
to the community. And I think it's our responsibility to support the program and the officers and give them the equipment they need to do their job.
Thank you very much.
And so,
Agreed.
Mike's, that's an old,
2005. Yeah, that's the
Uh,
oldest car we have in the fleet.
yeah, that one. What are we doing with that?
I guess that's going to engineering.
Okay, so they're gonna do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, I'm great with that.
Okay. I'll move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $9,500 from CNRE Fund 32 account 32-60-120-100-002, proceeds from the sales of vehicles to a budget account to be established titled Police SUV for K-9 and forward to the Board of Finance for approval.
Second?
It's been seconded. Any further comment? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Sergeant Blanchett, thank you. You run an outstanding, stellar department on a shoestring budget, frankly. And I'm glad we can get you out now. Maybe you can get home to your family. You spent a long week out there. Thank you. Everybody stepped up during this storm. I mean, every department put in hours and hours, and every time I turned around, they were there. Amazing. Budget overview, folks. In your packet this evening, that would be the big one. Do they have this in their packets? Okay. It's in plastic in their book. Okay. in the front usually.
Right here.
There it is. It's a multi-page, so you have to pull it out to actually read along. I'll give you a brief synopsis. I'm not going to read all 7 pages here, but I want to introduce the budget to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that's been protocol over the last several years. So to kind of give you a brief overview. Tonight I present to you the working draft of the Board of Selectmen budget for the 2015-16 budget. As you're aware, this is my first opportunity to preside over this process, and I've used my experience as a business owner for 25 years, combined with my previous 5 years' experience on the Board of Selectmen to craft this budget. It's the same line-by-line, in-depth approach that has been used during the past 7 years. Each department head was interviewed and their budget was reviewed line by line. I look forward to and expect your input as we further fine-tune this approach for public approval. You will find that the driving force behind most of the increases in department budgets are wages and benefits. Equipment and enhancement spending is relatively flat throughout the town. I encouraged our department heads to be leaders and plan for necessary enhancements needed to deliver quality town services going forward. Yet, we need to strike a balance between delivering these improvements and keeping our taxes to our citizens as low as possible. This proposed municipal budget that I present to you for review is $753,772 increase for the town. A $2,010,020 increase for the Board of Education increase for the Board of Education. $212,000 increase for budget services. $243,000 increase for capital represents a total dollar increase of $3,220,059, or 4.95%, including the Board of Ed budget. And now I have a few bullet points that I'll briefly run through. The emphasis was placed on maintaining existing public services, improving and upgrading our town infrastructure, and the prevailing quality of life within the town. I continue to place special emphasis on recreational activities that the town can offer to all residents, as we believe that during the continuing recovery, more and more people will be utilizing economic recreation opportunities. And that includes our downtown. That includes, of course, with the boardwalk being finished, we'd expect more pedestrian traffic, more shoppers, more tourists, and everything else downtown. The chief building official requested a full-time building official to assist him, a new position. I supported an increase in part-time hours, but have not approved a full-time building official. There has been a noted increase in permit activity in each of the past 4 years, and we are receiving permits for the Gateway project as well. In addition, the chief building official requested we eliminate part-time administrative assistant position and replace it with a full-time administrative secretary. And what I did instead was increase the part-time position from 20 to 25 hours, and so that she could help with paperwork. I recommend that we as a board speak to Mr. Smith and discuss the growing needs of his office and how we can better support him. There are a lot of projects in town, and we don't, some of the little ones that we don't think of are like all the folks that are putting solar panels on their roofs because of the enhancements and incentives that we discussed and approved in this meeting, at this board level. There's a whole lot of things going on out there, and Mr. Smith needs to be involved with every one of them. So, his collection of fees are up as well, and we'll see that on the revenue side. So he does need some extra support, and going forward, we need to discuss that. Emergency management once again requested a fifth dispatcher, a full-time dispatcher, which I'm not recommending due to the continued efforts to determine how the town wants to move forward in the future. Discussions with local town CEOs are currently underway, even this week, and regarding the future of the dispatch department and possible regionalization. We've been holding off on that fifth dispatcher because we don't want someone then being displaced only months later. And more is coming with that, and an ultimate decision needs to be made. I'll tell you that about 6 or 7 positions were requested by department heads, and every single one of them was held off at this point. We may want to review a few of the departments and add them back in, but this budget I present to you includes no extra personnel. Restoring the planning director to full-time status and creating a new GIS analyst position was requested by the Planning Commission. Due to the decrease of activity in this area, I cannot support this transition at this time. The GIS analyst position is to assist with the proposed GIS platform enhancement, which also requires a substantial infrastructure investment, which needs more education of town boards to support going forward. There's real room for growth here. I anticipate the need for another employee to support our planning/wetlands/GIS department in the near future. This will enable and support better planning and enforcement in these areas, and also a greater use of the GIS services throughout the town, which will decrease budgets and enhance services in a lot of the other departments in town. In coordination with the restoring the planning director full-time status, a recommendation was also made to restore additional hours to the wetlands officer, and at this time I'm leaving those responsibilities with the planner. Again, another position that I said they held off on. One department that I did support staff changes, not additions to, but changes, is the Commission on Aging. A senior staff member has given notice she plans to retire in July of 2015, and as a result, Kathy Wilson has recommended a restructure of how the department provides services. We're going to enhance that first position and make that a coordinator position, a level 7. A class 7, and we're going to take the existing administrative secretary and move that to a senior center associate, which is a class 4. So a little bit more work over there. Obviously, a very dynamic department, a growing demographic in our town, and I think it needs to be supported properly. The Parks and Rec department, once again, includes increases in wages for the part-time seasonal. That's because our minimum wage is going up, and a majority of their seasonal help is, of course, receiving minimum wages. Wherever possible, departments' operating costs have been kept to a minimum, maintaining or decreasing the 2014 or 15 level of spending. Increases in operating costs are primarily due to contract obligation, health insurance, pension benefits, state mandates, new debt, and the capital improvement plan. I'll also add that our electric bills in town will be going up about 20%. So is yours at home. The grid has gone up something like 50 or 60%, and that represents 70%. The way it calculates, it's about 20% when it's all said and done. CL&P's portion is actually a very small amount. It's like 3%, and the rest is the grid costs, not the distributor costs, but the generation costs. Thank you. I knew the engineer down there would help me out with that. I was kind of just pausing, waiting for you to come in. That's where I need to kind of draw the line. I'll go to the second to last page and just read my conclusion to you, because I just want to give a good flavor and give you a good feel of what's been going on around here for the last month. As previously mentioned, this budget for the most part reflects maintenance of existing levels of public service within the community with very, very few enhancements. This budget represents a fiscally conservative and prudent approach to developing a town-wide spending plan for the coming year. If we were to remove wage increases reflected in the budget in the amount of $367,000, the town's budget increase would be $386,000 or 2.3%. The town's overall budget including the preliminary Board of Education budget, is increasing